The whole gym went silent when the principal's shaking voice came through the microphone and said, "The man who saved this school is standing right there." Every rich parent turned their head toward the back doors, and their faces lost color when they saw the same black bus driver they had mocked every morning standing in his faded uniform with rain still dripping from his jacket. Just 5 minutes earlier, those same parents had laughed when security tried to remove him from the fundraiser. One woman had covered her nose and whispered, "Why is the driver here? This event is for donors, not staff." Another man had smirked and said, "Maybe he came for free food." But now, on the giant screen above the stage, glowing in gold letters, was the truth that crushed every insult in the room. Anonymous donor revealed. Total gift, $20 million. Name, Marcus Ellison. Marcus stood frozen near the doorway, not because he was afraid, but because he had never wanted this moment. He had never wanted applause, attention, or revenge. He only wanted his daughter, Jasmine, to get a fair chance in a world that kept trying to make her feel small. She was standing near the front row in her Navy school blazer, tears already filling her eyes. She looked at her father like she was seeing him and understanding him at the same time. All year, she had watched people treat him like he was invisible. Every morning, Marcus drove the yellow bus through the iron gates of Eastbridge Academy, one of the most expensive private schools in Dallas, Texas. The campus had marble steps, glass buildings, tennis courts, and parents who arrived in cars worth more than some homes. Marcus always smiled, opened the bus door, helped the younger kids down, and said, "Have a good day. Keep your head high." But most parents never looked him in the eye. Some acted like he was part of the bus, like he was just a seat, a steering wheel, a uniform, and some were worse than rude. They were cruel in that quiet, polished way rich people sometimes use when they want their racism to sound like manners. Mrs. Caldwell, the wife of a real estate developer, once told her son not to touch the bus railing because people like him don't keep things clean. Marcus heard it. He kept his hands on the wheel and said nothing. Another parent once complained that the school should upgrade the image of transportation because a black driver at the front gate made the school look less elite. Marcus heard that too. He still said nothing. The hardest part was not what they said about him. It was what Jasmine heard. She was 16, brilliant, quiet, and stronger than she knew. She had won a scholarship to Eastbridge after scoring higher than almost every student in the district. Marcus was proud of her, but he saw how the school tried to break her spirit in small ways. Girls invited everyone to parties except her. Teachers praised her work but sounded surprised every time she succeeded. Parents asked if she was there through a charity program. One boy even told her, "Your dad drives the bus, right? That must be embarrassing." Jasmine came home that day pretending she was fine, but Marcus found her crying over her homework at midnight. He sat beside her and said, "Baby, honest work is never embarrassing. The only shame in this world is having a cruel heart and calling it class." She wiped her face and asked, "Then why do they always make us feel like we don't belong?" Marcus looked down at his hands, the same hands that had built a company, signed contracts, carried his wife through cancer treatments, and fixed the bus engine when it stalled in winter. "Because some people need to look down on somebody just to feel tall," he said. "But that doesn't mean they're tall. It means they're empty." What Jasmine did not know was that Marcus had once been one of the most successful logistics entrepreneurs in Texas, years earlier. He started Ellison Freight with one used truck, sleeping in parking lots and eating gas station sandwiches while building routes across the South. By the time Jasmine was 10, his company was worth more money than he ever imagined. Then his wife, Denise, got sick. Marcus sold most of his stake, stepped away from the business, and spent every day beside her hospital bed. Before she died, Denise made him promise two things: take care of Jasmine, and never let money turn his heart cold. After her death, Marcus disappeared from the business world. He bought a modest house, kept his wealth private, and chose a simple job driving a school bus because it let him be near Jasmine and serve children who needed kindness in their mornings. To him, the bus was not a fall from success. It was peace. It was purpose. It was a way to remember who he was before money changed how people treated him. Eastbridge Academy was in trouble long before the fundraiser. The school looked perfect from outside, but inside, it was drowning in debt. Bad investments, corrupt board members, and secret financial mistakes had nearly destroyed it. Teachers were about to lose jobs. Scholarship students were about to be pushed out first. Jasmine's scholarship was on the list to be cut. Marcus discovered it quietly after a teacher he trusted broke down one afternoon near the bus parking lot. She told him students like Jasmine might not return next semester. Marcus listened, asked no questions, and later that night called his attorney. He donated anonymously because he did not want Eastbridge to treat Jasmine differently because of his money. He wanted the school saved, but he also wanted to see the truth. He wanted to know whether people would change when they thought the donor was some billionaire in a suit, or whether they would continue showing their real hearts to the man holding the bus keys. The fundraiser was supposed to be the biggest night of the year. The gym had been transformed with chandeliers, white tablecloths, violin music, and huge flower arrangements. Parents arrived dressed like they were going to a red carpet event. Marcus came straight from his bus route, wearing his driver's jacket, because Jasmine had asked him to attend. "Please, Dad," she said. "I know they act weird, but I want you there. You're my father." So he came. The moment he stepped inside, the whispers began. Mr. Caldwell, the richest parent on the board, blocked him near the entrance with a fake smile. "Marcus, right. Staff check-in is in the back. I'm here for my daughter," Marcus said calmly. Mr. Caldwell glanced at his uniform. "This is a donor event. Tickets at $2,000 per seat." Marcus reached into his pocket and showed his ticket. Caldwell's smile tightened. "Interesting. Must be a scholarship table." Jasmine rushed over, embarrassed but brave. "He's with me." Caldwell looked at her and said softly, but loud enough for others to hear, "Of course he is." That was when Mrs. Caldwell laughed. Not loudly, not wildly, just enough to make the people around her feel invited to join. And they did. Marcus saw Jasmine's face lower, and something inside him hurt worse than any insult he had taken alone. Later, during dinner, Marcus was seated near the back. A waiter served everyone except him until Jasmine asked twice. A group of boys at the next table joked that maybe he would drive everyone home after dessert. Marcus kept his expression calm, but Jasmine's hands trembled around her glass. Then the real humiliation came. As the principal walked toward the stage to announce the donor, Mr. Caldwell noticed Marcus standing near the side wall, looking at the photos of graduating students. Caldwell snapped his fingers at a security guard and said, "Can you handle this? He's making people uncomfortable." The guard approached Marcus. "I need you to step outside." Jasmine jumped up. "No, he's my dad." Caldwell raised his voice. "Young lady, this is exactly why standards matter. We can't have every employee wandering into donor spaces." The room went quiet. Marcus could feel hundreds of eyes on him, some curious, some amused, some cold. Jasmine looked like she wanted to scream, but Marcus gently touched her shoulder. "It's okay, baby. No, it's not," she whispered. And for the first time that night, Marcus looked directly at Caldwell. "You're right about one thing," he said. "Standards do matter." Caldwell smirked. "Glad you understand." Marcus nodded slowly. "But tonight, we're about to find out whose standards were too low." Before Caldwell could answer, the principal's microphone screeched. Her face was pale as she stared at the tablet in her hands. She had just received a legal release from Marcus's attorney. The anonymous donor had agreed to be named publicly. The principal looked out at the crowd, then at Marcus, and tears filled her eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice breaking, "tonight, Eastbridge Academy was saved. Not partially helped. Not temporarily supported. Saved." The screen behind her lit up with the amount, $20 million. Gaffes spread across the gym. Parents stood, teachers cried. Caldwell's mouth opened slightly, already preparing to smile for whoever the donor was. The principal continued, "This gift pays the school's debt, protects every teacher's job, rebuilds our scholarship program, and creates a permanent fund for students who deserve opportunity regardless of income." Applause thundered through the room. Then she said, "And now the donor has allowed us to reveal his name." The screen changed. Marcus Ellison. The applause died like someone had cut the sound from the world. Caldwell stared at the screen, then at Marcus, then back at the screen. Mrs. Caldwell's hand flew to her mouth. The parents who had laughed at him looked down at their plates. The security guard stepped backward, horrified. Jasmine turned around slowly. "Dad." Marcus walked toward the stage. Every step felt heavier than the last, not because he was ashamed, but because the truth had weight. He passed Caldwell without looking at him. He passed the tables where people had whispered. He climbed the stage, took the microphone from the principal, and stood under the bright lights in the same uniform they had mocked. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he looked at Jasmine. "I didn't do this to embarrass anyone," Marcus said. His voice was calm, deep, and full of pain. "I did it because children should not lose their dreams because adults failed them. I did it because teachers should not pay the price for boardroom mistakes. And I did it because my daughter, and every child like her, deserves to walk through these doors without feeling like they have to apologize for who they are." Jasmine covered her mouth, crying openly now. Marcus looked across the room. "But I would be lying if I said tonight didn't hurt. Some of you saw my uniform and decided my worth. You saw my skin and decided my place. You saw my job and decided I had nothing to offer. But my mother cleaned offices. My father fixed tires. They had more dignity in their tired hands than some people have in their whole bank accounts. No one moved. Driving a bus is not shameful, Marcus continued. Serving children is not shameful. Working hard is not shameful. What is shameful is teaching your children to disrespect people who help carry them safely through life. Caldwell stood slowly, his face red. Mr. Ellison, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Marcus finally looked at him. No, sir, there has been understanding. That's the problem. A quiet sound moved through the room, part shock, part agreement. The principal stepped forward and said, on behalf of this school, I am sorry. Deeply sorry. Marcus nodded, but his eyes stayed on the students. The apology that matters is not the one given to me tonight. It's the one shown through behavior tomorrow. After the event, people rushed toward him, suddenly smiling, suddenly respectful, suddenly eager to shake his hand. Marcus accepted none of the fake praise. He only walked to Jasmine and hugged her tightly while she cried into his jacket. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. Because I needed you to know your value before you knew about the money, he said. Money can open doors, baby, but dignity teaches you how to walk through them. The next morning, Eastbridge Academy looked different. Not because the buildings changed, but because the people did. Parents who once ignored Marcus now stood awkwardly near the curb, unsure whether to wave. Students watched him with wide eyes. Teachers greeted him with real warmth. Caldwell was absent. Rumors spread that he had resigned from the board before sunrise. Marcus drove the bus one final time. When he pulled through the gates, every student on the bus became quiet. Outside the school, lined in front of the main building, were 5 brand new, yellow buses with shining windows and a message printed in bold black letters along the side. Never look down on honest work. Jasmine stood near the steps, smiling through tears. Marcus opened the bus doors and looked at the children behind him. End of the line, he said softly, but not the end of the lesson. And as he stepped down from the bus, the same parents who once treated him like he was invisible had no choice but to see him clearly, not because he was rich, not because his name was on a screen, but because the man they tried to make small had stood taller than all of them without ever raising his voice.